So for the first question it asks for fy and f smaller y in terms of fx and f smaller f. So from the graph we can see that when x is less than 0, y equals to 2. So we draw the graph here, and then between 0 and 1, y equals to 0. So from 0 to 1, it's 0 here. And between when x is between 1 to y equals to minus x plus 1. So the line here represents this part. And for x greater than 2, y equals to minus 1. So it is this part. And the x-axis is x and the y-axis represent y. And for y between, so we can see that y is in range of minus 1 to 2, and f1 should be 0 when y is less than minus 1, because it is impossible for y to be minus 1 or less, and y, the probability of y greater than 2 should be 1, like the density function. So we can find when y equals to minus 1, the probability is equals to x greater than 2, which is equals to 1 minus the probability of x less than 2, and it's 1 minus the density function, big F function of x when x equals to 2. And when y equals to 0, it's equals to x between 0 and 1. X greater or equal to 0 and smaller than 1. So the probability should be big F x1 minus fx0. It's an area. And when y equals to 2, the probability should be x less than 0. And it is this part when fx, it is of fx0. And to find the density function of fy, we can use the formula for fx over the derivative of g, the absolute value of derivative of gx, and it should be 1. This is the density function for y between minus 1 and 0, because for this part it is continuous, but for the other part it's step functions. So fx, by solving this, we can represent x equals to 1 minus y, so it's fx 1 minus y, and we can write fy in terms of fx and the impulse function. So between so when y equals to minus 1, fy equals to 1 minus fx of 2 times y plus 1 impulse function. And we can see for y between minus 1 and 0, it is fx 1 minus 1. This is what we get here, this part. And for y equals to 0, it should be this part, which is fx1 minus fx0 when the area between f equals to 1 and 0. And for y equals to 2, it should be this part, and it is fx0 times the impulse function of y minus 2. And other places should be 0. And the big Fy should be the integral of this part. And it is easy to see that y cannot be smaller than minus 1, so the probability is 1. And when y is greater than 2, the sum of the probabilities should be 1. So these two parts are easy to see. And for y between -1 and 0, it's the integral of these two functions. And so this is this, and this part is the integral of this. Yeah, like between probability of y greater or equal to -1 and smaller than 0 is equals to probability of 1 minus x smaller than y, which is probability of x greater than 1 minus y. And we can use the conjugate to get it is equals to probability of 1 minus probability of x less than 1 minus y equals to 1 minus the density function of y, 1 minus y. And we can also see from the graph here. This is part 1.